Welcome to the Cenario Podcast, your guide to mental health and well-being. Each episode, we uncover practical tools, discuss expert insights, and explore how supplements can transform your mental health journey. Get ready to learn, grow, and thrive with us.
Hey there. It's great to have you with us again. You mentioned recently feeling like you're just out of sync with everyone else when it comes to sleep, like your body's on a totally different schedule.
Yeah, you were saying how tough it is to fall asleep at a decent hour and then waking up in the morning. Forget about it.
Totally. So in this deep dive, we're going to explore that. We're taking a close look at what's called delayed sleep phase syndrome, or DSPS for short.
Right. And like you were saying, you just can't seem to fall asleep until really late, sometimes even past 2 a.m., right?
Ugh, yeah. Tell me about it. But then I can sleep in late and still wake up feeling pretty good. So is this just a case of being a night owl?
Well, that's what's so interesting about DSPS.
Yeah.
It's not just being a night owl. It's actually a recognized sleep disorder. And it's way more common than you might think.
Okay, so let's break this down. We all have those nights where we stay up late, maybe binge watching something. What makes DSPS different?
So think of it this way. We all have this internal clock, right? It's called our circadian rhythm. It basically controls when we feel tired and when we feel awake.
Right, our body's natural sleep-wake cycle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
With DSPS, that internal clock is set to a much later time. So your body naturally wants to go to sleep and wake up much later than what's considered normal.
So it's not that people with DSPS can't sleep, it's that their sleep is just shifted later.
Right. And that's why it can be so tough for them to function in a world that's built around a 9-to-5 schedule.
Yeah.
Early school start times, work deadlines, all that.
It's like they're constantly living in a different time zone.
Exactly. And another thing that's often misunderstood is that people think it's just a matter of bad habits,
Yeah.
Like, oh, just go to bed earlier.
Right, like they're choosing to stay up late.
Exactly. But the thing is, DSPS is a real medical condition. It's not just a choice. It's a misalignment of that internal clock, that circadian rhythm.
Okay, so let's dig into what actually causes this misalignment. Why is that internal clock running on a delayed schedule for some people?
Well, one of the biggest factors seems to be genetics. Research suggests that up to half of people with DSPS have a family history of it.
Wow, so it really can be something you inherit.
Yeah, it's like your genes are saying, hey, we like to sleep in. But specifically, it's certain genes called clock genes that are thought to play a role.
Clock genes, huh? Sounds pretty literal.
Right. They kind of act like the little gears and springs inside that internal clock. And if those gears are slightly different, well, the whole clock runs differently. Some of the ones that have been linked to DSPS are called PER3, CRY1, and BML1.
So those genes can make someone naturally predisposed to a later sleep schedule. What else can contribute to this delayed sleep phase?
Well, you know how melatonin is that hormone that helps us sleep?
Yeah, our body's natural sleep aid.
Exactly. In people with DSPS, the release of melatonin is delayed, like way delayed. Sometimes it doesn't even start until 2 a.m. or later. So by the time most people are getting ready for bed, their bodies are still going strong.
Huh, so their bodies are just not getting the signal to wind down at a normal time.
Right. And that delayed melatonin release can be influenced by a bunch of things. Genetics plays a role, as we said, but also things like exposure to light at night, especially blue light from screens.
So those late night phone scrolls might be making things worse.
They definitely can. Blue light tricks our brains into thinking it's still daytime, which suppresses melatonin production even more.
Okay, so genetics, light exposure, what else?
Well, also certain neurological and psychological factors seem to be involved, like ADHD, depression, and anxiety. There's some evidence to suggest they might be more common in people with DSPS.
Well, that's interesting. Is there a link between those conditions and sleep regulation?
Yeah, it's thought that there might be some overlap in how certain brain chemicals, like dopamine and serotonin, are involved in both mood and sleep.
Huh, so it's not just about the sleep itself, but how it's tied to other things going on in the brain.
Right. And then, of course, there are also just general lifestyle factors that can reinforce a delayed sleep phase, like having an inconsistent sleep schedule, maybe staying up super late on weekends and then trying to shift back during the week.
Ugh, yeah, I've definitely been guilty of that.
We all have. But that kind of irregularity can really throw your body clock off. And then there's also the obvious stuff like caffeine and other stimulants too close to bedtime.
Makes sense. So it sounds like there's a whole web of factors that can contribute to DSPS. But let's talk about symptoms. What should people be looking out for if they think they might have it?
Well, the most obvious one is that difficulty falling asleep at a normal time. They might not start feeling tired until midnight, 1 a.m., even 2 a.m. or later.
Okay, so late bedtimes are a red flag. What else?
And then, of course, that difficulty waking up in the morning. Even if they manage to get a decent amount of sleep, they'll probably still feel groggy and struggle to get going.
Like that feeling of being hit by a truck when the alarm goes off?
Exactly. And then, because they're often forced to wake up earlier than their bodies naturally want to, they might experience excessive daytime sleepiness.
Yeah, that constant struggle to stay awake during the day.
Right. And they might also find it really hard to adjust to schedules that require them to go to bed and wake up earlier. Like if they have a job that starts early in the morning, or if they're traveling to a different time zone.
It's like their bodies just refuse to cooperate with anything other than their natural sleep-wake cycle.
Exactly. And then there can be other symptoms too, kind of as a result of that constant sleep disruption, like problems with concentration and memory, mood swings, irritability, even anxiety or depression.
So those secondary symptoms can really affect someone's overall well-being.
Yeah, it's not just about feeling tired. It can impact their mental and emotional health too.
So are there certain groups of people who are more prone to DSPS?
Yeah, actually. Teenagers seem to be particularly susceptible. Maybe up to 16% of them show symptoms, which is a problem, considering how early most schools start.
Yeah, it's like a recipe for chronic sleep deprivation.
Right. And college students are another group that's often affected. Late nights, studying, socializing, you know how it goes. And sometimes that pattern can stick around even after college.
So basically, anyone whose lifestyle involves a lot of late nights.
Yeah. And then also people with certain jobs like shift workers or freelancers who set their own hours. And as we mentioned before, people with ADHD, depression, or bipolar disorder might be more likely to have DSPS too.
So it can really affect people at different stages of life and for different reasons. Now, we've talked about how it's different from insomnia, but what about just being a night owl? Is that the same thing?
Well, that's a great question. And it's another one that often gets confused. It's true that both night owls and people with DSPS tend to prefer later bedtimes and wake-up times. But the key difference is the flexibility.
Okay, so a night owl can adjust if they need to.
Yeah, generally they can. Like if they have a job that requires them to be up early, they might grumble about it, but they can usually adapt. They might not function at their best, but they can make it work. People with DSPS, on the other hand, often find it extremely difficult to shift their sleep schedule, even if they really try.
So it's like their body is just hardwired to that later rhythm.
Exactly. And that rigidity can cause them a lot of distress and really interfere with their daily life. They might be constantly exhausted, miss out on social events, struggle to keep up at work or school,
Yeah, it sounds like it can be really debilitating.
It can be. And another key difference is that night owls generally don't experience the same severity of symptoms as people with DSPS, like the extreme difficulty waking up, the daytime sleepiness, the mood problems, all that.
So it's not just about preference, it's about the level of impairment it causes.
Exactly. And also, night owls typically don't have that same delayed melatonin release that we see in DSPS.
Okay, so that's a big biological difference. So we've talked about causes, symptoms, who's affected. What about treatment? What can people with DSPS do to manage their condition?
Well, the main goal of treatment is to try to shift that internal clock to an earlier time to better align with the demands of the world.
So trying to reset their circadian rhythm?
Right. And one of the most effective ways to do that is with light therapy.
Like using a special lamp or something.
Exactly. You basically expose yourself to bright light, especially in the morning, to signal to your body that it's daytime. And that can help to advance the timing of your melatonin release in the evening.
Okay, so light therapy can help to kickstart that internal clock earlier. What else?
Well, melatonin supplements can be helpful too, but you have to take them at the right time, like in the early evening, several hours before you want to go to bed.
Oh, so you're not taking it right before bed like a sleeping pill.
Right. It's more about gently nudging your sleep-wake cycle earlier over time.
Interesting. And what about lifestyle changes?
Oh, those are super important. Having a consistent sleep schedule, even on weekends, is key.
So no more sleeping until noon on Saturdays.
Well, it's tough, but it's really the best way to help regulate your body clock. And then, of course, avoiding caffeine and other stimulants before bed and minimizing that blue light exposure from screens in the evening.
Okay, so a combination of light therapy, melatonin, and good sleep hygiene.
Exactly. And sometimes working with a sleep specialist can be really helpful too. They can help you figure out the best combination of treatments for your specific situation.
Makes sense. So to wrap things up, I think the biggest takeaway here is that DSPS is a real condition. It's not just a matter of laziness or bad habits. It's a biological misalignment of the internal clock.
Absolutely. And it's important to recognize that because it means that people with DSPS need understanding and support, not judgment. They're not choosing to be out of sync with the world. Their bodies are just wired differently.
Yeah, and it makes you think about how our society is so structured around early mornings. And that can be really tough for people whose natural rhythm is just different.
Totally. It raises some interesting questions about how we can be more accommodating to people with different chronotypes. Maybe we need more flexible work schedules, later school start times.
Right. Because trying to force everyone to fit into the same mold just doesn't work for everyone. So for those of you listening, if any of this resonated with you, maybe it's worth exploring further. Talk to your doctor, look into some of the resources we mentioned, because understanding your own sleep patterns is the first step to getting the rest you need and deserve.
Absolutely. And thanks for diving into this with us.
Always a pleasure. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to the Cenario podcast. Don't forget to visit Cenario.com for more expert tips, articles, and supplements designed to support your mental health. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe and share it with a friend. Until next time, take care of yourself.